Whether the team has given us the highest of highs or the bluest of blues, we'll cover it all here on Commanders Nightly News. I, of course, am your host, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Let's get to tonight's lead story. So we are finally at week 18. Commanders are among 16 teams that will not be participating in bonus football. So you start to turn your attention to the offseason. A lot of things that the Commanders have to address this offseason. It is a massive offseason, as we've talked about so many times, for both General Manager Adam Peters and head coach Dan Quinn. Their first order of business is to take care of the guys that are here and figure out which guys are a part of the solution and which guys are dead weight. So I'm going to talk to you today to start off this show about the 23 pending free agents that the Commanders currently have. Yes, they have the oldest roster in football. Yes, it has been a very disappointing roster this season, some of it due to injuries, others due to performance, whatever the case may be. A lot of us aren't satisfied with the makeup of this roster, but all of the guys that are here aren't necessarily parts of the problem. With that said, let's take a look at the 23 pending free agents that the Commanders have this upcoming spring. And then I've devised 3 different categories that I'm going to put these free agents in. Now, I want you to leave down in the comment section where you would put these guys. And I know it's going to be kind of varying as to where some of these guys are on your list. I'm going to tell you why I have these guys, where I have them on my list, and then we will have a discussion. But with that said, let's dive into this discussion. So let's take a look at the pending free agents the Commanders have this spring. And as you can see, 23 guys. We'll go through this entire list. You've got Deebo Samuel, Bobby Wagner, Marcus Mariota, Zach Ertz, Von Miller, all of those guys. Deebo with the exception right now, but Deebo, as you can see, is on the cusp of turning 30 years old. So when you look at all of those free agents, you talk about us being the oldest team in football and by a country mile. You see why. Look at all the pending free agents that we have and look at their ages. Deebo's about to turn 30. Bobby Wagner's halfway to 36. Marcus Mariota's 32 years old. Zach Ertz just turned 35. Von Miller's about to turn 37. Jonathan Jones is 32 years old. Austin Eckler is halfway to 31. Andrew Wiley is 31. Dietrich Wise is 31. Noah Brown about to be 30 years old. Tress Way going to turn 36 here very shortly. Jacob Martin just turned 30 this past week. So you see all of that age. I just rattled off about 13 names? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 names. I just rattled off 12 names, each of them either about to turn 30 or already 30 or above. So you can see very quickly and easily why this team is the oldest in football this season. This can't be the trend next year. We can't be the oldest team, and I don't think we will. I've already said that I think this was done intentionally because we were chasing after a chip. And because we're no longer in that space, you won't see them be as aggressive targeting a bunch of older players that they think can help them get over the top. Instead, they should be looking for youthful players that help build the core of this football team that gets you back to where you want to be, which is a highly competitive team competing for the division, NFC, standings, and potentially the Super Bowl. And so I think they're going to take a different approach and tact this offseason. But clearly you saw the emphasis was on getting veteran players. Some of these guys were already here. Bobby Wagner, Marcus Mariota, Zach Ertz, Austin Eckler, Andrew Wiley, Noah Brown, Tress Way. These were guys that were already here that helped us go 12-5 the year prior. So it's not like they brought all of these guys in, but I think you're going to see a different, makeup of this roster from an age standpoint next year. But anyway, let's continue going through this list. So Jacob Martin just turned 30 not too long ago. Noah Igbenogany, 26 years old. It's just crazy to think that Noah Igbenogany just turned 26, has been in the NFL for 6 years. He's so young. Feels like he's been in the league for 10 years. Feels like he's 30 years old, and yet Noah Igbenogany is only 26. I always am amazed at that, right? Josh Johnson, 39. Again, another old aging. This guy's about to be 40 years old. He's halfway to 40, right? Trent Scott, about to turn 32 years old. Jeremy McNichols just turned 30. As a matter of fact, Jeremy McNichols' birthday, I believe, was either yesterday or the day before yesterday. Shy Tuttle, we just signed him. He's 30 years old. George Fant, again, another aging veteran, 33 years old for George Fant. Eddie Goldman, about to turn 32 years old. So another aging veteran there. Lucas Niang, 27 years old. Tyree Jackson, 28 years old. Chris Rodriguez Jr., 25 years old. Chris Paul, 27 years old. So those are all 23 of the free agents. So now we're going to go through this list, and I'm going to tell you where I've placed each of these free agents, these pending Commanders free agents for the upcoming offseason. So I've put together 3 categories that I want to throw each of these players into. The first category is definitely want back. Let's run it back, okay? And as a matter of fact, I like the sound of that. We're going to name this category, let's run it back, all right? So this category is let's run it back, all right? So this first category is let's run it back. These are the guys I want back. I have no reason not to trust that these guys, assuming health, are going to perform the way that they did this year, especially if they have a specific role carved out for them and we don't ask them to do anything other than the thing that we brought them here to do, which, you know, has been a struggle for us each of the last 2 years, right? Like going back to the first year of Dan Quinn, Adam Peters and company, we specifically brought Dante Fowler Jr. here to be a situational pass rusher. Due to injuries, Dante Fowler Jr. had to play starters snaps for us, which is not what we brought him here to do. And it forced a lot of you to turn on him because he wasn't great at stopping the run at times, which is not what we brought him here to do in the first place. So if you just get guys to do the thing you asked them to do, I think these guys are going to be fine, and I want to run it back with them, okay? Then I have the next category. It's called on the fence. These are guys that I'm kind of like, 6'7", right? I don't know. It could go either way. I really don't care one way or the other. You could talk me into them not being on this roster. You could talk me into them being back. It may come down to money. It may come down to, what other options are available. If nothing else is available, okay, fine, he can come back, that sort of thing. But I'm on the fence. I could go either way with a strong, stern, convincing. I could go this way. I could go that way. It's just however the wind blows that particular day is how I feel about that player being back here next year. And then the last category is you can go. Pack your things and go. Go, 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 go. Pack your things and go. Go, 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 go. Pack your bags and go. Go, 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 go. Get these guys out of here. Get your shit and go as soon as possible, much faster than slow. Pack your things and go. So let's get to the list, all right? So we start with my definitely want backs or let's run it back, all right? So these are the guys. Out of 23 players on this list, I've only got 5 guys that I said, hey, let's run it back with, okay? So these are guys that I definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, you figure out the money, you make it work, but I need these guys back here next year. Make it work. Make it make sense. Now, let's be reasonable here now, right? Let's not have anybody go outside of what's, feasible in terms of money. Everybody, let's make this make sense for all parties involved, but make sure we bring these guys back. First guy up, Marcus Mariota. Quarterback, I've already stressed that Marcus Mariota is the perfect backup quarterback for Jaden Daniels. We can win football games with Marcus Mariota healthy. Again, backups are backups for a reason. we have to put a better team, not just around Jaden Daniels, but around whomever's at quarterback. But Marcus Mariota has proven that if you just give him a few, players, Terry McLaurin, a tight end, a run game, he can go win you some football games. He's played well enough this season that in all of his starts, he had about maybe 7 starts this year prior to the injury that cost him the last game. Let's see, how many games have we played this year? Jaden Daniels started 7 games. We've played 16 games this season. So he's had 8 starts this year as Marcus Mariota. And of the 8, I'd say he gave us a reasonable shot to win maybe 6 of them. Let's see. We did beat the Raiders. We should have beaten the Atlanta Falcons, but the defense played its worst game of the season, one of its worst games, probably its worst game of the season. He played really well in that game. There was some meat left on the bone, but he played well enough. We scored 27 points that night. We should have won the game, right? Jaden came back for the next 3 games, so he didn't start again until week 8 against the Chiefs. He played well enough for us to win that night. Again, a lot of things happened that he couldn't control. He played his ass off in that game, So that's the 3rd start. The next week he started against the next week was Detroit, if I'm not mistaken. Am I missing a team? I don't think so. I think it was Detroit next. We had no shot in that game, and he played really well. The defense didn't get a stop the entire night. Like the Lions didn't punt in that game. Jaden came back for the Seattle game. Then the following week, Marcus started against the Miami Dolphins over in Madrid. Obviously, he played well enough to win that game. We scored 13 points. I mean, again, I don't – it's tough because he threw the interception at the end, but Mikey muffed a punt. There was a lot of things that happened in that game that put us in a tough spot. He was solid in that game. The following week or after the bye week, Denver, he played in that game, started that game. That was, you could argue, his best performance as a Commander, both years combined. And I know he led us to some beatdowns, in 2024, the Carolina game, the excellent comeback versus Dallas. When he did play, he was really good against the Raiders earlier, but Marcus left it all out on the field against Denver. I thought it was one of his best performances as a Commander. And then he started the following week again against the no, he didn't start the following week. That was Minnesota. Then he started the following week versus the Giants, won that game, played very well that game. And then he started his last game, which was against Philadelphia. So 8 games for him this year as the starter. And he played well. We were leading the game when he got hurt. So I just want Marcus Mariota back. I don't think I needed to do what I just did, which is explain to you that he played well. There really wasn't a game this year that he didn't play well. The only games he didn't look good in were the ones he came in relief. And in every single one of those instances when he came in, we weren't in those games. That wasn't a situation where he came in, we were leading, or it was a close ball game, and he came in and he made it worse. He came into a no-win situation in every single one of those games where Jaden got injured and he couldn't finish the game. Dallas, we were already getting our doors blown off. Minnesota, we were in the process of being shut out thoroughly. And the Seattle game was over in the first half. So Marcus Mariota needs to be back. Tressway, what more can I say? What more do I need to say about Tressway? Our only Pro Bowler this year. He should be back. There's really no questions asked or no explanations needed for that. Jacob Martin, edge rusher. We've talked about him a ton this year, about the impact that he's had, how much we liked what he's done for this team. And again, that's one of those guys, if we just bring him back to play the role that he was brought here and designed to play when we initially initially signed him, Jacob Martin can flourish and thrive in that role. You know, we basically asked him to do the same thing we asked Dante Fowler Jr. to do, except Jacob Martin is probably better at stopping the run than Dante Fowler Jr. is. And on the flip side, Dante Fowler Jr. is probably better at rushing the passer than Jacob Martin is. But Jacob has been very disruptive. He set a career high for sacks this year. I like what I've seen, and I would love to see more of Jacob Martin next season. Eddie Goldman, I already told you guys, Eddie Goldman is more than welcome to come back here if he still wants to play football next season. It's not going to cost you a lot to bring him back. He is a guy that you ask to do one thing and one thing alone, and that is eat up space and stop the run, and he does that at a very high level. I've been ultra impressed with him this season. On just about every single third or fourth down stop we've gotten this season, Eddie Goldman has been at the forefront of that stop. Eddie Goldman, sign him up. If he wants to play football, sign him up. And then obviously the final of the 5 run it back guys for me is Chris Paul. He kind of took that left guard position by storm this season. We really didn't see it coming, took advantage of an opportunity and never gave it back. And again, not going to cost you very much to bring Chris Paul back. To me, it's a no-brainer. He should be one of your, along with these other guys, he should be a priority this offseason. Before you start looking at other teams' free agents and trying to bring those guys here, got to take care of your own. And Chris Paul is one of those guys that should be a high priority for this team. If you're talking about continuity up front, you're talking about building the type of offensive line in front of your all-world quarterback, and trying to open up holes in the run game, and you're talking about continuity and consistency up front, which we've heard Dan Quinn mention various times, you need to re-sign Chris Paul. Even if he's not ultimately your starter next year, he'll be your starter going into camp. Bring Chris Paul back. Worst case scenario, he offers you tremendous depth if he isn't your starter, which right now, he's your starter. So those are the 5, right? Now let's get to on the fence. On the fence. These are guys, as I already mentioned, that you can convince me to not bring them back. You can convince me to bring them back. Money is going to also factor into the decision-making process. If the number is right, if the money's right, the money's good, yeah, hell yeah, bring them back. I'm interested. But I'm also at the point where I'm like, yeah, I could do without them. And if you convince me that they're asking for too much money, or you just say, hey, look, this guy is stopping this guy from getting snaps, we need to go younger here. If you have a convincing argument, my ears are open, I'm listening, and I may go, okay, you've sold me. Let's get rid of this guy. I'm on the fence. I can go either way. You got to start with wide receiver Deebo Samuel for me. I've already told you that for as much good as Deebo has done this season, and we've seen when Deebo is playing at a high level, he's very, very interesting and intriguing as a part of this offense. We really haven't seen a large enough sample size of Deebo paired with Terry and a competent third wide receiver to know what it really truly looks like. But we've seen Deebo play at a high level in stretches this season, specifically early this year where he was clearly the best offensive player on the football field. Week 1 against the Giants, week 3 against week 4 against the Falcons, week 5 against the Chargers. Those were the best of Deebo Samuel this season. Hell, you could even sprinkle in week 2 versus the Packers. Then the heel injury took effect, and he really wasn't the same. We've started to see him kind of come back to life again, but the drops have been an issue for me. He had the big catch and run versus Dallas. He had a couple of wide receiver screens that have been really intriguing here the last couple of weeks. I've liked what I've seen from Deebo, but the number, you see the number that they have. And look, Spot Rack is often wrong when it comes to player market value. So, take it with a grain of salt, but they're basically saying Deebo's worth $20 million a year. I am not interested in Deebo Samuel here in Washington for $20 million a year. You know what my number is. And if it goes over 1 cent, my number, I'm good. He can go. But I'm listening. I'm interested. I'm intrigued by Debo. I see the value in bringing him back, but I'm definitely not sold 100% on him. Bobby Wagner. I know for some of you, he's in the final category where he can go, right? I struggle with Bobby because on one hand, I'm like, we got to get youth out there, and I'm more leaning towards he can go just because I'm ready to see what what Jordan McGee can do. I'm really anxious to see what that looks like. But on the other hand, I'm like, Bobby is the quarterback of this defense. He's the one guy we can rely on to get anybody on the ground. He gets everyone lined up. Jordan McGee hasn't always been the cleanest bill of health during his career here thus far. What if you move on from Bobby and then Jordan McGee doesn't live up to this, level of expectations that we've placed on him, and now you're hurting at the middle linebacker position? I guess that's the risk you take if you move on from Bobby, but we have to infuse speed. And the thing that makes me more so lean towards you got to move on from Bobby is the fact that this staff is unwilling to sit Bobby down or get him out of specific packages. If Bobby's here, they're going to keep him on the field for all 100% of the snaps. So it's almost like you either get all of Bobby or you get none of Bobby, but there's no in between with him or the staff. And Bobby's made it abundantly clear he wants to play. He's not here to be anybody's mentor, although he'll give you the game, but he's not here to be a coach on the sidelines. He's not here to mentor guys while he's watching the game. He's here to play. And if you try to take him out of the game, there's going to be a problem. So I think I'm leaning towards he can go, but I'm also like, I don't know. I don't know, Jim, on Bobby Wagner. Von Miller. He's a guy that I've been pretty adamant this season that I'm good on Von. Like, Von can go. But I think I've convinced myself that if we use him in the same, vein as a Jacob Martin, which is that situational pass rusher, the guy that you bring in the game, like, I love the role we had for Von at the beginning of the season when we were completely healthy with Dietrich Wise and Dorrance Armstrong and Javonte John Baptiste. I love the role that we had for Von and Jacob Martin. Like, him and Jacob would come in with that second unit and, give us some quality snaps. And then you could mix and match the parts you put on the field. And then Von's a great cleanup man. He's a great janitor at this stage of his career. If you could guarantee me that Von would be in that role and only that role, I'd probably sign up for it. But here's my thought process. If you can get younger at edge rusher, whatever that looks like, I want to do that first. I want to explore that option first. If you can't get as young, because I don't want to just get young for the sake of getting young. Like, just because you got a young guy doesn't mean he's going to be productive. If it's not a young quality guy that's had a 6-sack season in his NFL career, if it's not somebody that we can bring in here and rely on to be somewhat disruptive and productive, you might as well run. I mean, Von Miller's leading this team in sacks. You might as well just run it back with Von. But I'm listening. I would prefer not to have Von Miller back on the roster. He's campaigning, as we've talked about in the past, to be here. I would prefer not to be in the Von Miller business, but if we have to, I'm open to that idea. Jonathan Jones, I've already talked about him as you could do a hell of a lot worse with a fifth corner on your roster than Jonathan Jones, right? Like, we need a lot of cornerback help. I'm going to assume that Marshawn Lattimore won't be back this upcoming offseason. He'll be cut loose. You've got Mikey still. You've got Trey Amos. That's the extent of what you have right now. You really don't have a lot at the cornerback position. You're going to have to go out here and get some guys in free agency, possibly double up in free agency, maybe one free agent, one in the draft, whatever the case may be. I would have no issues whatsoever with bringing back Jonathan Jones as our fifth corner. His versatility to be able to play outside and inside is something that you feel really good about. He can still run, very smart and instinctual at this stage of his career. I think he can contribute, if nothing else, on special teams. But I just like the versatility and the comfort of knowing if he has to play, he can go in there and not make an ass out of himself. Andrew Wiley, I've already said this. His versatility to be able to play 3 confidently, but in a pinch, 4 out of the 5 offensive line spots makes him a very sought-after commodity. A guy that I trust, if you put him in at guard, that he's going to do his job. He's really good as a run blocker. Where he struggles is in pass protection, but even that hasn't been terrible. Again, you don't want Andrew Wiley starting, but you can do a hell of a lot worse than Andrew Wiley, that's for sure. If Wiley was willing to come back, and he may think he can start somewhere else. He may think, I'll test the free agent market, see if someone's interested in giving me an opportunity to compete for a starting gig. And if that's the case, hey, man, I wish you nothing but the best. But if he's willing to embrace his role as a backup offensive lineman in this league, sign me up for Andrew Wiley. I'd love to have him back. He gives us the depth that we've ranted and raved about with this offensive line. He provides you with comfort knowing he can do so many different things for you on that offensive line. Noah Igbenogany, the general, he's still very young. We talked about this just a few minutes ago. He's only 26 years old. I think we've already explored him playing out wide and realized that's not a good idea. As a nickel, you can get by. That's why he's the general. But again, it's not optimal. However, core special teamer, a guy that can return kickoffs, he's shown the ability to do that. And again, in a pinch, he can play inside and outside, although I prefer my Noah Igbenogany in the slot. That said, there is value in bringing back Noah Igbenogany. There is value in bringing him back. But I don't think you need Jonathan Jones and Noah Igbenogany. You just need one of them. So if you're bringing back the Wiley KG veteran, then Noah Igbenogany can go. If you're going to stick with Noah Igbenogany and the youth, then Jonathan Jones can go. That would give you 3 corners. You still need to add 2 new corners to the mix in 2026. I do not think you can come back with 4 out of the 5 guys and just add a Marshawn Lattimore replacement. I do not think that is ideal. I think you need to part ways with 2 of those corners. You can bring back one of them, again, either Jonathan Jones or Noah Igbenogany, and then you need to go out and get 2 fresh new bodies to bring into this mix, and let's see what we can get done. Jeremy McNichols, J-Mac. I'm on the fence. Like, I can go either way with him. I got no issues, no gripes with Jeremy McNichols. Good pass protector, catches it well out of the backfield, is a physical guy with the ball in his hands, does a great job of snuffing out first downs, on third downs. There's a lot to like about Jeremy McNichols. They love him on special teams. They love him as a teammate. They love him in that building as a leader. If they decided to bring him back, I would, again, as long as that doesn't stop you from pursuing one of these dynamic backs, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. If you twisted my arm and you said you got to choose between him and C-Rod, it'd be an interesting, depending on what you do this offseason, I'd be interested in bringing back Jeremy McNichols over Chris Rodriguez. Again, you'd have to have done something in free agency at the running back position for me to feel that way. If you do nothing, then I'd take C-Rod. But Lucas Niang, this is nothing more than, hey, I just want to see, right? He got injured, tore his ACL, I believe, in camp, or before we got to camp, whichever one. He's only 27 years old. I just want to see if there's anything there. When he's completely healthy, can he be a swing tackle for us moving forward? A former, 3rd round pick out of TCU. What does he have? Does he have anything? If not, okay, we move on. No harm, no foul. But I'm intrigued. Same thing with Tyree Jackson, the tight end, right? He got injured. They put him on IR. I think they really liked him, and they didn't want him to be exposed to the rest of the league. So he got a little nick. They decided to put him on IR for the season, but he's 6'7", former quarterback. Why can't he turn into Logan Thomas, right? A late bloomer at the tight end position, former quarterback that's huge at 6'7". Why can't he turn into a pass-catching dynamo and a guy that you really feel good about? I'm willing to explore. We got no other reason not to. We got a tight end that's stopping us from exploring Tyree Jackson to see if he could actually be something dynamic. I say give it a spin. And again, if it doesn't work, so you don't have, it's a minimal investment, right? Chris Rodriguez Jr., I just talked about Jeremy McNichols. Same thing applies. I have no issues with bringing Chris Rodriguez back. I just always feel like you can do better. I always feel like you can do better than C-Rod. So my first inclination is, hey, let's go out here and get something else. Let's go get a Tyler Algier. You know, I'm more so inclined to be like, hey, let's go get a Breece Hall. Let's go get a K9. But I still don't think Adam Peters is willing to spend on the running back position that way. So if they decide to bring C-Rod back, I'd be like, okay, that's cool. Him and Bill end up being a 1-2 punch. Cool. I just think you can do better. But if you made me choose between him and Jeremy McNichols, it really just depends on what you do in free agency. If you do nothing, give me C-Rod. Give me C-Rod. And then lastly, at first, this guy was on my you can go list just because of his age. But I think the type of injury he had suggests that he can make a full recovery and it won't take as long. And he's been around the facility. I think they really like him. And I know that his game isn't going to change because of his injury. Like his game was never predicated on speed. It was always predicated on violence and physicality and power. That's not going to change based off of the injury he just sustained. So Dietrich Wise is a guy that I'm on the fence about. Again, initially I was saying he's 32, but he's basically about to be 32 years old. I'm not interested. He can go, but more and more I thought about it. You're looking for depth at defensive end. He serves a purpose. He stops the run. He sets a physical edge. He collapses the pocket. If he were healthy and able to go to start next year, I'd be interested. I'm interested. I'm listening. You got my attention. So on the fence, I've got 11 guys. You add in the let's run it back crew, and that's 16. So I have 7 guys that I've basically determined that pack your things and go, 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 go. And the first guy is tight end Zach Ertz. And I love Zach Ertz. I love what he's done for this organization. I love the productivity, the relationships he's created within that locker room with Jaden, with the head coach. Obviously, he and Cliff have a strong relationship and bond. But at 35 years old, coming off of a major injury and surgery, yeah, I'm good. It's time to move on from Zach Ertz. Appreciate everything you did, though, but it's time to move on. Same thing could be said for Austin Eckler. Like, going to be 31 years old before the start of next season, coming off of a major injury where it required surgery. I know he's posting videos on social media of him, getting, squats in and starting to, get back to regularly scheduled programming. And he's such a workout warrior that I don't have any doubts that he'll come back healthy. But at 31 years old, coming off of a major injury, am I really interested to see what that looks like? I'll pass. I'm good. I appreciate it, but I'm good. I think I'll pass on that. Josh Johnson, he played well last week. I commend him for that. Got to give him credit. But ultimately, I don't need a 40-year-old backup quarterback. I'm not interested in doing that. 3rd string, 4th string, doesn't matter to me. You can do better. His spot on the roster needs to be taken up by a developmental quarterback. They need to either select a guy in the later rounds or they need to get an undrafted in here that they can work with. But Josh Johnson can't be your 3rd string quarterback here any longer. Offensive lineman Trent Scott, him and George Fant, I'll package those two together. Basically, They've been incapable of being active all season long. Granted, the offensive line has been one of the healthier positions. You can't find a way to be active for most weeks. I'm good. Like, I don't need you to be here next year. It's not going to get any easier for you to get on the field. And both of those guys are 30 plus, right? I think Trent Scott's 31 and George Fant is 33. So, yeah, I'm not interested. And then Shy Tuttle, he just got here. You know the old adage, last to get here, first to go, right? Last to come, first to go. He just got here. He can go. So that's the list for me. 23 names. You tell me where these guys all fit in. Let's run it back on the fence, or you can go. Looking forward to reading your responses. So let's get to a word from one of our sponsors. We'll come back on the other side, and we will get to In Other News. My bad. Sleeper is the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all of your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat in the games in real time with other users, get the fastest scores, blazing fast news and alerts right at your fingertips. Play in fantasy leagues and win real money on picks contests. So enjoy sports the way they were meant to, together. Download the #1 sports app today. Predict the hottest football stats like passing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy football skills. Use promo code LTN, and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Sleeper. All right, so we are back, and we are now in other news. So let's talk about where the Commanders sit in the Tankathon. So last week didn't go well for the good guys. Nothing that we needed to transpire actually took place, which, again, you can't ask garbage teams to do anything other than lose. And that's not what we need them to do. We need them to do the opposite of that. So you're asking teams to do something that they haven't really been able to do for the vast majority of this season, and that's win. So you're in a tough spot, right? That said, there's no week like week 18 in the National Football League because all bets are off. A lot of teams are going to be resting their star quarterbacks, especially if they can't really make any headway in the postseason. So you're going to have some really good teams playing bad teams, but they're going to be playing their backup quarterbacks, and a lot of their good players are going to be rested. Guys with nicks and bruises are going to be having the game off. And so you're going to have teams that otherwise wouldn't have a shot to win, have a shot to win on Sunday. So with that said, let's take a look at the Tankathon and let's discuss where we are with that and what it looks like for the Commanders coming up in week number 18. So I want to start by just stating the obvious. The Commanders were 7th in the draft order last week. The Commanders are 7th in the draft order this week. That is because only Cleveland won. But as we talked about last week, Cleveland would need to finish with a better record than Washington because of their strength of schedule. They play in arguably the worst division in football. Outside of the NFC South, there aren't very many divisions with a worse win percentage than the AFC North, right? Someone's going to win that division. Now, more likely than not, someone's going to win that division with, I think the Steelers could win it with a winning record, right? They've already got somebody's going to win that division at 9-8, right? Or the Steelers might win it at 10-7. I think they're 9-7 right now, and Baltimore's 8-8. So someone's going to win that division with a winning record. In the NFC South, you could have a 8-9, division winner, because Carolina's 8-8, Tampa Bay 7-9. If Tampa Bay wins, they're going to be 8-9. They win the division. If Carolina wins, they'll be 9-8, and so they'll have a winning record. But that's the only division that's worse off than Cleveland and the AFC North. So Cleveland would have to win again. They did win, so they did take a step towards putting themselves in a position to where they could end up behind Washington, but they still have to win again. And you're asking the Browns to do something they haven't done, I don't think, this season. They may have, and that's win 2 games in a row. Most of the teams you see on this list above Washington haven't won 2 games in a row in the entire season, which is why they are where they are in the draft ranking. Washington among them. We haven't had a 2-game win streak all season long. So I'll give you the good news. I'm going to give you your dessert first with this tankathon. The Commanders could get as high as the number 2 overall pick. Yes, there's no way to catch Vegas. They have created distance between themselves and the Commanders that is insurmountable, right? They only have 2 wins. Commanders can't catch them. But everybody else in front of Washington, with the exception of Vegas, can be caught. Everyone else in front of Washington, with the exception of Cleveland, has a stronger strength of schedule than Washington does. And that is not going to change in week 18. Thus, should the Commanders end up with the same record as the Giants, the Jets, the Titans, or the Cardinals, the Commanders would have the upper hand. Okay? The only team, as we can see right now, that the Commanders can't finish tied with and leapfrog is Cleveland. Because, again, I already stated this, they play in arguably the worst division in football. So their strength of schedule is light years ahead of everyone else's. No one else, their number starts with a 4, right? I've already told you the 2 divisions that suck. The team right under us, New Orleans, plays in that division. The team right above us, Cleveland, plays in the other division. Both of them, their numbers start with 4s. All the other teams start with 5s, including us, but ours is a lot less. So if Cleveland beats Cincinnati in week number 18, and that could happen, the Browns would then be below us. We would move up. If Arizona beats the Rams, and I know this sounds crazy, but the Rams just lost on Monday night to the Atlanta Falcons. And here's the significance of that. With that loss, the Rams have put themselves pretty much in a no-win situation. They're going to be the 6th seed in the NFC playoffs. There's no benefit to playing Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, or any of your players that you're going to be relying on come the playoffs. So what you could effectively see is the Rams punting on week 18, giving the start to whomever their backup quarterback is, Jimmy Garoppolo, and throwing a bunch of no names out there with him. Still probably good enough to beat Arizona, but you just don't know how that's going to go, right? Arizona could easily beat the Rams. Rams don't give a damn. Arizona could end up behind us, right? Tennessee has been highly competitive here of late. They won 2 weeks ago. Last week, they had the Saints on the ropes, let them off the hook. The Titans aren't going to win, unfortunately. They play in a division that has not been decided yet, and they're going to be playing the Jacksonville Jaguars in week number 17. Jacksonville needing a win to clinch the division. Tennessee Titans aren't winning that game. Jacksonville's going to reign. It's either Jacksonville or Houston, one of the 2 teams they're playing in this game. It doesn't matter. They're not beating Houston. They're not beating Jacksonville. So we're not going to be able to leapfrog Tennessee. But again, if they were to win somehow, some way, we would be ahead of them. Jets, they're another intriguing option. So Buffalo can't win the division. With their loss to Philadelphia last week, they've effectively clinched a wild card berth. Now, could they move up or down in the wild card berth with a win or a loss? Sure, maybe. I don't know the answer to that. It's a very hotly, tightly contested AFC. But I do know the Chargers are resting their starters. Justin Herbert isn't playing. And thus, I don't think anybody's really jockeying for position out there in the AFC. You should be more concerned about Josh Allen's health. He's got an ankle injury. There are other players that could use the time off. I think the Bills are going to rest their starters. Mitchell Trubisky is going to be out there. The Jets, all I'm saying is they could win in week 18. Probably won't against the Bills B squad, but they'll have a shot. They'll have a shot. That's all we can ask for. And then the Giants are playing the Cowboys. While it's highly unlikely that the Giants make it 2 in a row, anything can happen. The Cowboys weren't very impressive against us on Christmas Day. So anything can happen. All bets are off. The Giants could catch the Cowboys lacking. They've got some issues going on. Who knows? They could win. I doubt it. But you could see how easily, I say that tongue in cheek, the Commanders could end up with the second pick. They need every team in front of them to win. And you're asking 5 of the 6 worst teams in football this season to win all in the same week. Again, week 18 produces wacky Looney Tunes scenarios like this. But let's be serious. Let's be for real. All 5 of these teams aren't winning on Sunday. But here's something else I'm going to tell you right now. And I believe this with every fiber of my being. All 5 of those teams aren't losing either. At least 1, if not 2 of them, are going to win on Sunday. And if any of them, with the exception of Vegas, because that doesn't matter to us, should any of them win, we leapfrog them. I find it hard to believe that the Commanders don't end up with the top 5 pick. We probably won't get any higher than 5. But I could see the Commanders coming away with the 5th pick. Don't know what 2 teams are going to win, but 2 of these teams are going to win on Sunday. Commanders are playing an Eagles team that is highly motivated. They'll be playing at 425 at the same time as the Bears will be. And what's at stake is the opportunity to get the 2 seed, which is very coveted because you are guaranteed, should you win in Wild Card Weekend as the 2 seed, to get a second home playoff game. The only way you'll have to leave your house is if the number 1 seed advances all the way to the NFC Championship. So the 2 seed, highly coveted and in a very ultra competitive NFC. We're going to get Philadelphia's best. They'll be wearing their Kelly greens. We're definitely getting our backs kicked in. So we don't have to worry about winning. Will the teams ahead of us take care of business is the real question. All of them won't, but I believe at least 2 of them will. That's all we need to get into the top 5, and I think that's all you can ask for at this point if you're a Commanders fan. We can't fall any lower than 7. So just feel good and take solace in knowing that we won't fall out of the top 7. And I told you this 2 weeks ago that we weren't going to pick any lower than 7th. But with New Orleans and Kansas City and Cincinnati all winning, right? Kansas City already had 6 wins. So they were already away from us. But New Orleans continuing to win 4 straight now. Who saw that coming? They're now 6-10. Cincinnati won against Miami this past week. They're now 6-10. So there's been space created. Washington can't get to 6 wins. There's no 2-win game. There's only 1 game left. Even if they won, they'd go to 5. They still would be 7th in the draft. So, again, Washington can't finish any lower than 7th in the draft, but they can get as high as number 2. The likelihood is they're either 7, 6, or 5. I don't see them getting much higher than 5. Again, anything can happen in week 18, but you're asking bad teams to do something they haven't really done all season long, and that's win. So understand that this is where we are. So that's Tankathon for you guys. We'll take one more look at it next week, obviously, as it will come to a close for us next week. So let's get to the comment section and we will get out of here. Spence Collies, thank you for being a member for 40 months. Salute to you, who writes, Bears 33 turnovers, we got 8. 33 takeaways for the Bears, we only have 8. Nobody on D can stay. I understand your frustration, but just because we suck at forcing turnovers doesn't mean everybody needs to be shown the door. But I get it. I mean, I said this on the show on Sunday night. I said the Bears have 33 takeaways this season. I said, I guarantee you the Commanders don't have 33 takeaways in the last 2 seasons combined, the first 2 years of DQ here combined. And I wasn't sure what the number was this year, but I could tell you that it wasn't like we had 17 takeaways last year. I could assure you we don't have 15 this year or 16 this year. So I was like, I know we have less than what the Bears have this year. 8 is ridiculous, though. I didn't know we hadn't hit double digits yet. That's sickening. But yeah, we stink at it. So I understand your frustration, but just because we haven't forced or created turnovers doesn't mean everybody needs to go. CGM87, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. CGM87 writes, did Raheem save his job? Please no, as our new DC. First of all, I don't want Raheem Morris as our new defensive coordinator. So yes, I do think he did save his job. And I talked about that last night. This 3-game win streak that the Falcons have gone on, I think has effectively gotten him to safe ground, and he'll be back as the Falcons coach next year. I didn't want him to be our defensive coordinator anyway. So, but he would have been in the running because he and DQ are tight. And so he would have been an option had he been let go and relieved of his duties. But I think he's going to remain the head coach in Atlanta. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy video channel writes, Lou, video channel. This staff would be so unserious if they bring Bobby and Vaughn back. The unction is up. I see what you did there. I heard your jokes. Time for them to go home and be family men. I can't say that you're wrong. I told you. I'm on the fence. So I can definitely, you don't have to state your case. I get why you don't want those 2 back. And I don't disagree with you. There's a world in which I'm listening to those guys being brought back. But look, I've been through the struggle with you this season, and I understand why you don't want them back. So I totally understand that as well. So again, you can look at it from both vantage points and perspectives. Just keep it in mind that while those guys are wildly cagey veterans, they still do serve a purpose. So just keep that in mind as well. But it's hard for me to imagine both of those guys being back. But we live in an alternate universe where we were the oldest roster in football, and Bobby Wagner is approaching 2,000 tackles. He's going to be one of the league leaders in tackles yet again this season. They love him. Von Miller is going to lead our team in sacks this season. They probably feel really good about him as a leader in the locker room. I wouldn't put it past them to bring both of those guys back. So just make sure you rewire your brain into thinking that there's a chance. I'm not telling you that they're going to be back, but don't convince yourself that they're automatically gone, or else you'll be upset when both of those guys are potentially brought back. So I just want to make sure I put that bug in your ear. Don't set yourself up for disappointment, okay? Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this installment of Commanders Nightly News. The Commanders Kings are going to ride tonight for the final time in 2025. So catch us for this New Year's, I don't want to say Eve because it's not quite New Year's Eve, but this New Year's, let's call it the 2025 year in review wrap up for the Commanders. So, catch us tonight live. We'll talk about a lot of things concerning this team. Look at the final game of the season, talk about this season, talk about the future, all that good stuff and more. So we look forward to chopping it up with you guys later on tonight. Until then, I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys again tomorrow. We'll hear from Dan Quinn. We'll hear from, I'm assuming, Josh Johnson. I don't care to hear from any of the quarterbacks. And we'll talk about what was said and take our first look at the injury report. Not that you care. Yes, Trayvon Diggs was released by the Cowboys. I don't want him anywhere near this team. So there's that. I'm hoping that he's not an option here because Dan Quinn was his coach and so was Joe Witt Jr. in Dallas. And I'm hoping that they don't think that fondly of him, highly of him, don't want him here because I'm not interested in Trayvon Diggs. But we'll see. Yes, we're destitute. We're down bad at corner. But just because you are needy doesn't mean you need to go out and get anything that is available. You guys have to stop doing that. And I'm not saying that you're doing it right now, but I know some of you are probably advocating for Trayvon Diggs. You didn't like him when he was a Cowboy corner. Why would you want him here now that he's available? Again, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. When he's healthy, he's okay. He's not great. Yes, he can take the ball away, but he also gives up big plays. I'm not interested. I'm good. I'll pass. Let's see what happens and where he ultimately ends up. Let's hope it is not. At least I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for you. Let's hope he ends up somewhere other than DC. Anyway, I digress. You guys have a good one. Take care. I'll see you guys hopefully a little bit later on. If not, I'll see you guys next time. God bless. Good night.
Here comes the diesel. Here comes the diesel. There's the snap. Hand to Riggins. Good hold. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.